Am I the a-hole for starting the divorce process after finding out my daughter isn't mine? Advice needed. My life feels like a bad drama show at the moment. For some context, me, 33 male, and my wife, 30 female, have been married for 7 years, and our daughter, who I thought was mine, is 3. Looking back, this all started after my wife gave birth to her daughter. She suddenly became a lot more affectionate to me, was a lot more active with me in the bedroom life. She also made my favorite desserts a lot more. She is a fantastic baker. I, of course, didn't suspect anything since even prior to her pregnancy, there were no signs of cheating, but also possibly could be that I just didn't look close enough into it. Well, this whole fiasco started 2 weeks ago after a day out with her daughter, and she just sat me down in the evening and came clean about the fact that her daughter wasn't mine. Her waterworks, of course, also started, and apparently it was a guy from the gym, and it lasted a month before he disappeared on her after he found out she was pregnant. Honestly, even typing this now, I feel like crying since I thought I did everything perfectly, but she still cheated. As much as I wish I could say I had a stone face or something, I just started crying and she tried to comfort me, but I just pushed her away. I felt so disgusted with her. After I'd calmed down a bit, I just grabbed my jacket and left for a hotel. While I was leaving, she just begged and pleaded me to forgive her and that I was the only father her daughter knew. I do think that is kind of true. Like, granted, it's only been, 3 years? But, I mean, that daughter does know you to be the father. So I do think there is a little bit of, responsibility towards that daughter, but I would say there's zero responsibility to your wife. Like, that's ridiculous. After crying myself to sleep in the hotel the next day after I turned my phone back on, I had seen she had blown up my phone and I didn't read any of it and just blocked her. After having a little bit of breakfast, I contacted a lawyer to start the divorce process, and at work, I just asked for some time off, and my boss gave me a month off. By the evening, my mom and sister were calling me on her behalf and were on her side, and that just hurt me even more. What? Dude, no. Terrible family. If I was in this scenario, my sisters would be throwing hands for me. There's no way she communicated the real story to OP's mom and sister. And that just hurt me even more. While I'm not proud to admit this, I did drink myself to sleep that night. Honestly, bro, if there's any good excuse to drink yourself to sleep, I feel like that's a pretty good one. After that night, I started staying with my best friend, and my mom and sister kept spamming and calling me. A few days later, after she probably got the divorce papers, my mom just sent me a long text and, to summarize, said that I should step up and forgive her and not abandon my daughter, and that she would disown me if I went through with the divorce. I think he can get the divorce without walking out on the daughter. Like, I do think if you've been raising this child to be your daughter, you can stick with that, but not stay with the wife. My sister and mom are against me divorcing her, but my best friend and his wife are saying I have the right to not want to be with her or take care of her kid. I'm split on this, and on one hand, I did raise the baby for 3 years. On another, I don't know if I could, in the right mind, raise the reminder of my wife's affair. Edit 1, to put some context, my sister is infertile, so I think that's also partly why my mom doesn't want me to continue the divorce, since she will lose her grandchild. The question that OP is asking is, am I the a-hole for starting the divorce process? In response to that, I would say not the a-hole. I think you should get a divorce. I think you deserve to divorce this woman who broke your trust. I will say, I think you are the a-hole if you abandon the kid. I don't know. It's such on the middle point. Do I want to die on that hill? Hold on, guys. 3, you probably don't have memories, huh? You know, I'm gonna amend what I said. I think at the age of 3, you're young enough to where that kid probably won't even remember OP. So if he can't handle it, I actually don't think he's the a-hole. If this was maybe 6 or 7 years down the line, I would throw on the "you're the a-hole" label, just for the fact of abandoning a kid who grew up thinking you are the father. That would severely mess up the kid. But I think if you're 3 years old, you won't remember. Maybe you'll have a itty bitty slight memory of this man. I think if they're 3 years, you do still kind of have an out on that if it's not your kid. 3 years isn't enough for that kid to have trauma around dad abandoning them. So I'm going to stick with the not the a-hole verdict for that too, even though initially I wanted to throw a "you're the a-hole" verdict. But if this person was 6 years old, I would easily slap that verdict on them.